Hi, this is April from Craft Knife Chronicles, and I'm here to share with you my latest project. It's a chemistry lab. I designed this project to be both an art piece with a chemistry lab and also as a storage unit for all of the tags I made during Tim Holtz's Creative Chemistry classes 101 and 102. So let's take a look at the project. The top part, as I said, has a chemistry lab, and we'll open it up and look at it in a little bit more detail. And then on the bottom in the front, you can see what looks like 3 lockers, and that really is a drawer that opens up to show and contain all of the tags. If I open it up here, you can see that it has all of the tags inside. The top is like a hood, a fume hood that would be inside of a regular chemistry lab, and that opens up, and we'll see that in a minute. Now as we turn around on the sides here, you can see on the outside there are 2 bottles. I'll zoom in here a little bit and you can see them a little bit better. There are 2 bottles, and these are accordion books. One has the colors of distress inks and one has the colors of distress stains. And as we move around the unit, in the back it's just a piece of paper. I used the Tim Holtz Laboratorie paper line for this throughout this project. And coming around here on the other side, again there's 3 bottles with that are accordion books, and these have distress paints, distress markers, and alcohol inks in them. And when I switch the camera, we'll take a little bit closer look at those accordion books. Now coming back to the front, I'll just point out a couple of the things I used on the project. I used most everything is from Tim Holtz's line of ideology products. You can see the hinges here, hitch post both here and down at the bottom. I used the observation word bands on the lockers and the plaquettes. And so I think what I'll do now is I will take the bottles out of the side so a little more light will shine through and we'll get a better view of the chemistry lab itself. So here I've come in a little closer so we can get a better view of the chemistry lab. So I'm going to open up the cover here and then we'll see what it looks like. Pardon my hands while I reach in front of here to get to the cover, which is just hinged and flips back out of the way. And then also the 2 shelving units on the side open up as well. So I think we can come in a little bit closer, and I'll just pan a little bit so you can see. So here are the bottles on the inside of the shelving unit. There's different colored bottles. Most of them are Tim Holtz, but there's a few from 7 Gypsies and some I had in my stash, and we have a local science lab outlet here that I got a few tiny bottles from as well. And I colored them with either alcohol inks or sometimes some paint. Different things worked better on different surfaces. And then coming here in the middle is the main part of the chemistry lab, and we'll talk about those items in depth. And then over here on the right are some more bottles. So let's look at the lab. As you can see here on the front left, there's something that looks like a Bunsen burner. The project actually has 3, I believe they're called ring stands in an actual laboratory, that have different platforms on them that hold beakers and bottles. And I made the ring stands from dowels and then added hinge clips with some chipboard that has foil that was embossed to be the little platforms holding the beakers. You can see the hinge clip here and the little platform here as well. There's another one over on this side holding up the bottle with the teal liquid in it, and there's another one in the back that's hard to see from this vantage point. But the beakers are actually lids from spray bottles that I again colored on the inside so that they would look like they had some liquid in them. There's no actual liquid still in any of the bottles at this point. It's all dried out. I made some piping attachments going from a beaker in the back here. You can see piping into a funnel attachment, and then it goes down into this green bottle, and that piping was made out of a bendable straw, and the funnel was just a miniature funnel that I found. In the back, over on this side, you can see the test tube rack. Let me see if I can reach in here and get it. There's the little test tube rack. And in the front here, pardon my hand, there's a little chemistry notebook. I made that from a 2" by 2" piece from the paper line. And then in the back left, there's a red and a blue dome, and those are the domed, sorry, I can't exactly remember what their proper name is, but I filled them with cotton that I sprayed lightly with different inks, and I'll show you a close-up of that later, to kind of look like gas was trapped in those domes. So I think those are the key elements from the lab, and now we'll look a little closer at the drawer that holds the tags. So here's a close-up of the bottom section of the project, which is the drawer that holds the tags. I just decorated it to look like there was 3 separate lockers there, but it's actually one large drawer that holds 2 sets of tags. I used some corrugated paper on the front to make it look like the ventilation screens that you sometimes find in lockers. So when we pull this out, it has 2 spaces on the inside, and each one of the books is in there, and I'll show you those a little bit more in depth when I change the camera angle. So that's the chemistry lab project. I'm going to switch the camera and give you some details on the gas domes, the test tubes, and the little accordion books that I made all the product samples in, and then of course the tags. So stay tuned for that part. So here's a close-up of the corked domes that I used to make what I'm calling the gas domes that sit in the back of the chemistry lab. What I did was, you can see some examples of the cotton that I sprayed with different colors. There's a blue, orangey color, and a red. I decided I would rather have the red and the blue, so I didn't actually use the orangey color, but I just stretched out the cotton very thinly and sprayed some different colors of spray inks on them, and then very loosely put that inside of the cork domes. If it gets in there too tight, you lose the effect of a gas. So those are the close-up of the cork domes. Here are the little test tubes, and you can see close up here that they're made of straws. And what I did was I took some glossy accents and ran a thin bead of that around the tops of the straws in order to give them a lip of a test tube. And then I just used alcohol inks on the outside in various colors to simulate liquid being inside of the test tubes. I made the test tube rack just out of some black chipboard, punched some holes with a crocodile, and that's how I made this element. So these are the 5 little booklets that I made to show off the colors of the different products, the markers, paints, stains, and inks from the distress line, and then alcohol inks. I made them with various sizes of 2 dies, the apothecary jars die and the bell jar die. And what I did in order to make them the sizes that I needed on some of them, I made them longer or taller by just adjusting where the top acrylic plate landed when I was cutting them out with the die cutting machine. You can see that this one is a little curved, and this one I believe was, these two I think are the straight sizes, but I made the other ones just a little bit longer. And then what I did was I cut the appropriate length of either black or white cardstock and accordion folded that to be, with the folds being a little bit less than the width of the die, so that when I cut it out, the sides did not get cut, and that allowed me to have the shapes, especially at the top, continuous throughout the accordion books. And then so that they would look more like bottles, and I'm trying to control the glare here, but they all have plastic added, a layer of plastic added to both the front and the back so that they look more like bottles. I just added, when I added the label on, I put a piece of waxed linen thread, caught that underneath it, which will wrap around to keep the bottles closed. So each one, let's just look at the distress stains, for example, and I'll wrap this. So it's just a front and back accordion book. Flip it on the other side, and here's all the other colors of stains. So each one of the books is like that, just the different products are in there. So that's the accordion books. And last but of course not least are the tags. That is of course what started this whole project, was making the tags as experiments and lessons in both the Chemistry 101 and 102 classes. I made them into little ring-bound books by cutting out of black chipboard number 8 tags for the front and the back covers, and then I sponged them with different colors of distress paint, the picket fence, white, and black soot, black colors. And then just to bring up the white color a little bit, I did add some golden fluid acrylics and titanium white at the end. I just sponged that on to give that look of a old-timey composition book. Then I printed out a couple of labels on my computer and added them to the front. I'm not going to show you all the tags. There was a lot of fun. I learned a lot making them, but I don't think you probably want to see all of them. But I do want to show you one thing that I added to each tag, and that is a QR code. And when you take the class, for each tag that you make, there's a PDF that has instructions, and you can see them on the back of this tag here, that you can print out and attach to the tags to help refresh you on how to create the tag. And then I added the QR code, and that's this little black and white square here, if you're not familiar with that. What that is, it's a link that you can use a smartphone or a tablet to access, and then it will go to the web address that is encoded in that tag. So for example, here we're in the Chemistry 102, and this is the second day of classes. It's the fourth technique. And so when I hold my smartphone or my tablet up to the QR code, it will go to that page, and I can look at the video, any of the videos on that page. One caveat, because this is a password protected site, I would have already had to have put my password in there in order to immediately gain access to the video for that day. But I'm trying to incorporate that kind of technique in anything that I've used an example of in my own work, just so that I can refer back to the initial site where I learned about the technique or the project. So those are my tags, both sets there, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing my project. And if you would like to read more in depth and look at still photos, you can visit my blog, craftknifechronicles.blogspot.com. There's a link to that in the video description below. And also, if you would like to take the courses that inspired this project, they're available from online card classes, Tim Holtz's Chemistry 101 and 102, and I'll try to put a link to that below as well. So, thanks for watching. Bye for now.